out to you and your constituents as they go about rebuilding, and I think you were saying even today there may be another flood. Paul Tonko, representative from the state of New York, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Representative Garamendi, for bringing us together on what is a very thoughtful discussion about how we create jobs, grow jobs in America. And that is such a vital agenda. I thank you for bringing us together, and I thank you and our colleagues in the caucus for allowing myself and others to share the woes that we have faced in our respective districts over the recent district work period. It's ironic that in my district, in upstate New York, within days we suffered from an earthquake, from a hurricane, from a tornado in my hometown, and now flooding as we speak. The ravages of the waters of Irene have produced tremendous consequences for the great communities and the people that I represent. And as I've said at all of my stops in the district, I always believed that there was a strength to the people that I represent, but they have made a profound statement about that resilience and that strength in the last few days. I have seen people lose everything they've ever worked for, homes totally washed into the river, devastation from the floodwaters, cattle that were lost, harvest season almost at hand, all the investment of sweat equity and resources and fuel that never will really have the fruits of that labor captured in harvest. These heritage infrastructure, as I made mention in my hometown, the oldest building dates back to 1766, older than our nation, a wedding gift from Sir William Johnson to his daughter, and watching the velocity of the waters tear away the stone of that building and now expose it to the elements, and it was severely threatened and weakened by the storm. I mention this because it is so important for us to put together the resources that enable us to come back with the skilled labor that can rebuild communities, the heritage infrastructure that very much trailed through the waterway path in my district, covered bridges, historic homes, historic churches, gathering places that have significance, that speak to the character of the communities that I represent. That character is forever changed, and we need to have the resources to go forward and rebuild the infrastructure, the lock system that manages the waters, the gauging system, the technology that needs to be incorporated. Representative Garamendi, my district hosts the site of the Erie Canal Barge Canal. They gave birth to mill towns, a necklace of communities we call mill towns that became the epicenters of invention and innovation. The progress of which we speak, the agenda that you bring forward with such passion, is about now a new era of job creation where we move it up a notch because of our sophisticated quality as a society. We have perhaps shared manufacturing of traditional types with other nations, and now it's our job to bring in issues like the chip manufacturing that's done and all sorts of innovative ideas in clean energy that allow for renewables to take hold. But I make mention of that because we have a rich history that spoke to job creation, that offered the opportunity to have our constituents or constituents of the past express their God-given talents and express them in ways that strengthened the larger picture, that strengthened society and had an impact around the world, coming right here from New York State, that gave birth to a westward movement that finally reached the west coast of California that you represent. So we can do it again. We should take to heart our history that showed that as a people we have that pioneer spirit. As Americans, we have that uniqueness, we have that gift, we have those strengths, we have the opportunity to turn these situations, these challenges, into jobs. Jobs that are driven by ideas, that are nurtured by research and development, that translate into manufacturing. Manufacturing of an innovation economy of the present moment. And we can make that happen simply by the stewardship of sound public policy and advocacy for resources in our budget planning. I firmly believe, and I know you share this belief, We don't cut our way to prosperity. We don't cut our way to opportunity. We invest our way to prosperity. We invest our way to innovation, to opportunity. That's what it's all about. And the Make It in America agenda, embraced by the Democratic caucus in which we have the pleasure of serving, has adopted that slogan, has adopted the meaning of that passionate opportunity for us to take the trades, take tax policy, take the energy challenges, take the strength of labor, reinforced by the underpinnings of education and higher education, and coupled with research. It all happens if we put the plan together. And thank you for opening us up to a discussion that is very meaningful to the lives of our community, of our individual constituents, and to the fabric of our communities, which are really looking for this sort of involvement, this sort of implementation of strategy.
Representative Tonko, you so well explained with great passion the problems that your constituents are facing at this very moment as, once again, the floodwaters rise in your district and throughout the Northeast. Actually, I guess it's most of the East Coast, as that tropical storm starting on the Gulf is now finding its way all the way up the East Coast. Our prayers go out to all the people that have suffered thus far, and our hopes that this will not be a repetition of the devastating floods of last week. You also brought to our attention the need to rebuild. And this is part of the community of America. We're a community. We're 380 million, but we're still a community. We call ourselves Americans. And in these times of disaster, we must come together as a community, bringing what resources are necessary, not what's available, that are necessary to rebuild, to get people back on the path of living their lives in a safe, harmonious community with the necessary resources to carry out their goals so they can have a job, so they can rebuild their manufacturing facilities. That fits into the Make It in America agenda. As we go about that rebuilding, as the roads, and we've all seen the pictures of the washed out roads, you mentioned and you showed me the picture of the lock. Was that an Erie Canal lock?
It was the second stage of the canal when we moved from the mule-driven barge canal to the Erie Canal, which was engineered with locks. And again, to see the damage, tens of millions of dollars worth of damage. You know, infrastructure here, putting the trades to work to rebuild these communities. You know, you made an interesting observation that there, you know, the impacts of natural disasters and man-made disaster never ask about political persuasion or philosophy or geography. We've been impacted from coast to coast. And with pride the other day, we in upstate New York were talking, some colleagues in government were talking about, you know, when the Midwest needed us, we were there. When the West Coast needed us, we were there. As you have been for other regions in the country. Southeast needed us, the Gulf states needed us. We're there. We're the family of America, the 50 states speaking as one. Now it's the turn for us to ask your help. And, you know, thanks to the goodness of folks like yourself, we're going to make it happen. We're going to be able to rebuild. And I think the greatest commodity that we can bring to individuals at times like this, where they're enduring, they're coping with tragedy, is to deliver hope to their doorstep. And that hope goes a long way. And the hope to recover, the hope to rebuild, the hope to reestablish the character of these communities, which is so replete with history and heritage expression, covered bridges, historic homes, historic churches, you know, lock systems that define not only the development of New York State, but this nation and the global impact it had, with quality of life being enhanced simply by the genius of oftentimes blue-collar workers. So Make It in America came to mind for me over this past week. The greatness of how we developed jobs and products in this country now finds us a century later challenged with new dynamics. How do we draw ourselves away? How do we wean down this dependency on fossil-based fuels? How can we grow America's energy independence? How do we grow high-tech jobs that impact the quality of healthcare services or communications? We've seen it. You know, our whole Sputnik moment drove us to land a person on the moon before any other nation. We need that passion again. We need that here today, and Make It in America does it.
you're talking about